Lei has 13 years experience working on international and national lighting design projects. She is Vice President for Francis Krahe and Associates, and has a background in architectural engineering, including a degree from the University of Kansas. Lei, you're up.
Hi. That was a great segue into my topic. When Glenn asked me what the inspiration of light was for me, I started back from my roots of architectural lighting. This is moving very fast.
Sorry.
I can't talk that fast. Is this now starting? Okay. So the inspiration of light for me started with my studies of architectural history. And in the last few years in our firm, we've been asking questions, tough questions of what can we do to make our role in this building environment more significant. And we've answered that by looking at what's the biggest source of light, and that would be daylight. We are now looking at daylight as the biggest contribution of lighting architecture. These are some of the inspirations, lighting as it filters, still moving fast. That was the Bradbury building. Sorry. Okay, so original inspirations for me is how light passes through nature, glazed surface, and all that. And then thinking about historical architecture, how the ancient architects could do so well by just using daylight. They built massive buildings by just utilizing daylight. They built clerestories and building apertures, maximizing the contribution of daylight. This is the Temple of Karnak, and it's a significant building and still is a great example of daylight. The Pantheon and the Parthenon in Rome and Greece, both are buildings that were formed to maximize daylight. The Pantheon was actually oriented in an east-west direction so that the morning sun could contribute to the lighting of the statues. Everything was thought of in context of the site and its available daylight. These are the sketches from Ching's book, Form, Space, and Order, I believe. These are simple explanations of how to utilize daylight, and I think if we were to imagine what's the simplest objective of what we're doing, this would be it. So if we could simplify the diagram into a simple concept, I think we've thought it through. As lighting designers, obviously we use electric light, but we, in the Industrial Revolution, when electric lamps came about and buildings became more larger and used less massive materials, there was an advantage and a disadvantage. We started to utilize electric light. It then became overutilized. There's a blank page. Okay. Through this time period, there are architects that still use the building form as an aperture of lighting, and Le Corbusier is one of the great masters. Here is La Tourette, and I believe that's La Tourette. He used the building envelope as the luminaire to bring in daylight. He and also Alvar Aalto and Tadao Ando, they use building surfaces to reflect light inward, so it becomes more of an interesting mystery. And in each of these examples, you don't see any electric light. And again, Corbusier, Ronchamp, and Ville-Savoie, placement of daylight apertures in street key activity areas, and also just for delight, and using the massing of the building to redirect light inside. Then with the Industrial Revolution and the modern movement, international style came about. Seagram's building is a perfect example of a larger building utilizing advanced structural engineering with lots of electric lighting. Yeah, so that's a kind of a bad example of electric lighting. Okay. This is the Bradbury building. This is where our office is. And this is a perfect example of how to best design a building as a vessel of light, bringing in light into the atrium, every one of the office spaces is exposed to daylight windows. That's fine, that's fine. And then now we're at the current times. What we're dealing with right now is a complex system of parts, a complex system of people. We have everybody from an architect, a design architect, an executive architect, consultants, engineers, a huge team of people, and we're all trying to work together for a common goal, and one of them should be to maximize daylight. This graph up on top is to show the available solar energy from the sun could provide enough energy for the world's consumption 1,500 times. So if we're not using daylight, then we're missing out. And these two graphs down here is a chart or a graph of the solar installation in our southwest region. So as Southern Californians, we have somewhat of a responsibility, like Christy was saying, to think about daylight. So these are images of everyday occurrences of daylight. This is Westfield Century City Mall. This is just treatment of glazing. This is a classroom where electric light and lighting controls are integrated so that they are dynamically interfaced. And then using outdoor spaces with filtered light with louver. And then these are two more inspiring examples of daylight. The Our Lady of Angels Cathedral in Los Angeles by Raphael Moneo. And the one on the right is a house designed by Alberto Kalash. They both design with daylight apertures as interesting placements and views. So as you go through buildings, you get a sense of delight from daylight. Then these are examples of buildings that are used as vessels of light. The Bloch, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Bloch building, the Nelson Atkins Art Museum, Jamie Carpenter's solar light pipe installation at a 14-story law firm, Atrium, and this is Will Bruder's Phoenix Public Library, all utilizing daylight and their large spaces. This is Jean Nouvel's Arab Institute in Paris. His building is basically an entirely big lens that filters light. It opens and contracts with the amount of daylight. That's a perfect example of a building as a luminaire. And then the Reichstag in Berlin, redirection of light, the building as a reflector, again as a luminaire, and it's a beautiful space. I've been there too. And then this one is the museum in Abu Dhabi, planned to be completed by Jean Nouvel. The building as a filter of light, inspiring and still delightful. And lastly is a slide of if we could all come together and think of a common goal, we could utilize daylight simply if we have a clear objective. Thanks.